Hello IndyCar fans! Welcome to Formula Pun Racer, the channel where car racing and comedy collide. Today is March 13th, 2025. I like to say, happy birthday, Marco Andretti. Here's hoping that your 20th attempt at the Indy 500 this year will be a good one. In other words, Marco Andretti, not only is it his birthday today, but this year, assuming he can qualify for the Indianapolis 500, this will be his 20th start for the race. As he's also just doing the one race for IndyCar this year at the Indy 500, but that's another story. I'm here today to give you my review on the first round of the IndyCar season, which occurred back on the 2nd of March at St. Petersburg, Florida, the Firestone GP. And it all began with Scott McLaughlin of Team Penske on pole and Andretti Global driver Colton Herta starting second. And this is how the race began. When the green flag flew, it was Scott McLaughlin quickly pulling away from Colton Herta, opening up a big lead. But further back in the field, just 3 turns on the first lap, trouble would ensue as Team Penske driver Will Power rear-ended Arrow McLaren driver Nolan Siegel, crashing them out of the race. And on top of that, Rahal Letterman Lanigan driver Louis Foster, the young British rookie, was an innocent victim that also was taken out as well. Nobody was happy about this, but this brought out the yellow flag for the next 5 laps. Some people have been blaming Will Power for rear-ending Nolan Siegel, but Power has blamed Siegel for brake checking too soon. So, when it comes to guessing whose fault is it, this is where it comes to. When all is said and done with that first lap incident, I feel the most sorry for Louis Foster, because just a rookie in his first IndyCar race ever, and it ends just 3 corners in the first lap. Pretty unfortunate. And speaking of Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, the team has recently announced this week that Takuma Sato will return to the team for the Indy 500 as a 4th entry. So here's hoping maybe he can win his 3rd Indy 500 this year. I wish you good luck on that, Takuma Sato. With that said, the potential for at least one driver to be bumped out of the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500 when qualifying is said and done has increased. So as of now, there are 34 entries locked in for the Indianapolis 500. Who knows if it'll increase by the time we get to the month of May. But to get back to St. Petersburg, as a result of this first lap crash that brought out the yellow for the next 5 laps, most of the drivers went into pit and changed tires, take advantage of the fact that some of the tires they were on don't last very long and have the grip as some others do. In other words, in IndyCar racing, there are 2 sets of tires, the primaries and the alternates. The alternate tires have a green ring around the sides walls or something to represent that they're alternate compounds, and these alternate compound tires are stickier and softer, which means they have a quicker grip. But the problem is they don't last very long, while primaries are black-walled tires, and the compound use of that rubber is that they don't have as much grip, but they last a lot longer. So it's quite a gamble for each driver to choose which tire for how many laps. And something Firestone, in a way, needs to work on to get a stickier grip and hope that it doesn't wear out in the future too quickly. But that's how it is. Pit strategies and whatnot all play a part in who becomes victorious and who comes out defeated. So as the race restarted, Scott McLaughlin still held the lead, but as a result of this yellow flag pit cycling, the Meyer Shank boys of Felix Rosenqvist and Marcus Armstrong were right behind him in 2nd and 3rd. And basically, it would stay that way for the next 32 laps. And I tell you, Scott McLaughlin took a commanding lead through it all up until lap 32, because until it was time for Scott McLaughlin to pit, he was pulling away, and the Meyer Shank boys were quite a distant 2nd and 3rd. And for those who probably don't like a dominant run by Team Penske, in a way it was starting to become a snooze fest because there was no more cautions for the rest of the race, and made me almost fall asleep trying to pay attention. Oh, what a dream. I dreamt that I saw Cadillac in Formula One for 2026. Can you believe that?
Suddenly I wonder if that's actually true. But what a pipe dream that would be, Cadillacs in Formula One. Let me get back to my review of the St. Pete GP, shall I?
Sorry about that, everyone. To get back to the race, I will say one thing. If I said 32 laps or more when it came to Scott McLaughlin's dominant lead, my mistake. It was on lap 31 that he would peel off to take his first pit stop of the day.
Where's Marcus?
Yes, I'm getting to that. Marcus Armstrong, as a result, would inherit the lead for 3 laps before he came into the pits. So basically, the pit cycle for the drivers would begin at this time. Colton Herta would then take the lead for 1 lap, but then he had to pit. Unfortunately, despite his promising second-place start earlier in the race, his chances of victory came painfully unstuck when, during his pit, the right rear tire got caught on itself, so they couldn't get it on properly, costing him dearly before they let him go. And that was the end of Colton Herta's chances of winning right then and there. When all was said and done with the first round of pit stops, it was Scott McLaughlin who cycled through to retake the lead again on lap 39, and his fellow countryman Marcus Armstrong right on his heels. Unfortunately for Marcus Armstrong, in his attempt to catch his fellow countryman on lap 45, brushed the wall, damaging the left rear suspension. Interestingly enough, it shed no parts on the track, so there was no yellow. Marcus Armstrong was able to limp his car back to the pits. Game over for him, and no doubt distraught he was.
Game over,
yeah! Lap 45 would see the end of Scott McLaughlin's dominance in the race as he had to pit. The race lead would go over to Christian Lundgaard of Arrow McLaren, and for at least 22 laps, the Danish butter cookie would hold on to the lead before his second pit stop would occur. This would give the lead over to Scott Dixon, who would lead for 4 laps, and this Kiwi has yet to win at St. Petersburg. Eventually, tire choices and all that, which cost Scott McLaughlin a chance of winning, is what made his dominance come to an end. On top of it all, eventually Dixon had to pit to change tires and refuel as well, relinquishing the lead over to his teammate and last year's IndyCar champion, Alex Palou of Spain. And it would be a race that he would not let go of. So basically, since it was green flag all the way, it was quite uneventful. Not many changes for the lead either. At least with 10 laps to go, the gap between Alex Palou and Joseph Newgarden of Team Penske was beginning to shrink, courtesy of the fact that Juncos Hollinger racing driver Stingray Robb, who was about to be lapped by Alex Palou, wouldn't let Alex on by quite easily because he was fighting to stay on the lead lap, and he had every right to try that. It was frustrating for Alex Palou, especially with the gap between him and Joseph Newgarden shrinking drastically, since there was no way for Alex to maintain his leading momentum. Eventually, Alex was able to get by Stingray Robb before Joseph Newgarden could get by Alex for the lead. And through it all, well, Scott Dixon, who had no radio communication whatsoever during the race, which made it difficult for him, managed to get by Joseph Newgarden for second. And so when all was said and done, last year's IndyCar champion Alex Palou of Spain would take the first win of the season in St. Petersburg. Felicidad, Alex Palou, on that. And Scott Dixon coming home second. Disappointed he was not to win, but it was great for a 1-2 finish for Chip Ganassi. It just goes to show one thing about Ganassi. He's a real chip off the old block. Scott McLaughlin would finish fourth, and Joseph Newgarden finished third.
Where's Marcus?
Marcus Ericsson of Andretti Global would finish sixth, and his teammate and local boy, basically, Kyle Kirkwood of Jupiter, Florida, would finish fifth. Congratulations once again, Alex Palou, for taking a dominant win. And I also like to say, with DHL in Spain being red and yellow, that's also my high school colors. Pencrest High School of Media, Pennsylvania. So I like to say, gracias, Alex Palou, for taking my high school colors to victory. Here's hoping you could do so at the Indianapolis 500 in May. And I gotta say, it was quite an amazing accomplishment to see Fox put on quite a show for the Indy cars. And interestingly enough, the ratings of the race were 45% higher than last year. Oh! I gotta say though, despite the amazing ratings that Fox managed to do for Indy cars, there's one big gripe I have with the coverage. and that is the fact that for at least 2 or 3 commercial breaks, they did not do side-by-side coverage under green flag conditions. I mean, like, what the hell, Fox? I mean, you're supposed to do it at all times when the race is under green. I don't know why you didn't do it then, but hopefully you'll remember going forward, always, always, always give us side-by-side coverage of the race during commercial breaks when the race is under green flag conditions. It's fine if you don't do it when it's yellow, if there's no action going on, but please, Fox, do it right next time. And the next round is March 23rd at the Thermal Club in California. As for any action in racing this weekend, it's happening March 15th. The 12 Hours of Sebring will take place at 10:30 a.m. on Peacock, and that's when it all begins for the IMSA race. At the same time, later on that day, is the Australian Grand Prix. The lights are out and away we go in F1. 10 teams, 20 drivers will take off, and we'll see who gets the biggest stake on the Barbie for that one. And by the way, I was not wrong when I said I was dreaming about Cadillac in Formula One. I may not like it that much, but still it's preferable to that obnoxious Tesla Cybertruck if you ask me. That Cadillac has been approved as the 11th F1 team for 2026. Who will drive for Cadillac? Who knows? But for the first 2 or 3 years in F1, Cadillac will have Ferrari power units before they eventually make their own. So isn't that interesting? Oh yeah. And so, once again I say, thank you everyone for watching. Please subscribe and like and share this video and channel with those you love. And you don't have to be a racing fan to get a good laugh with this one. And I leave you now with the schedule for this year's F1 race, as well as who's driving for which team in Formula One. Congratulations once again, Alex Palou, for taking the win in St. Petersburg, and thanks for bringing Pencrest colors to victory as well. I leave you now with the final results of the St. Petersburg Grand Prix. See you in the next video, everyone. I'm Aaron Cylinder, firing on all cylinders.